Welcome back to Who Immortal Today, the place where fame, time, and heartbreaking transformations collide. 20 Golden Age child stars who died tragically, number 2, will absolutely break your heart. These aren't just glow-ups, these are stories of lost innocence, shattered dreams, and lives ended way too soon. From Hollywood's brightest young stars to music legends you thought you knew, these icons look nothing like their old selves. Because their stories took a tragic turn. Some tried to grow up in the spotlight, others vanished before their time, and a few, you won't believe what happened. Get ready for jaw-dropping before and afters, behind-the-scenes truths, and moments that'll leave you speechless. If you love uncovering Hollywood's most tragic tales, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. It really helps us out. Alright, let's dive in. News 1. Lucille Ricksen, 1910-1925. Lucille Ricksen was one of the most tragic figures of early Hollywood. A beautiful and talented child star whose life was cut short by the pressures of fame and the exploitation of the silent film industry. Born Ingeborg Myrtle Elizabeth Erickson on August 22, 1910 in Chicago, Illinois, Lucille began modeling as a toddler and entered acting by age 4. Her delicate features, emotional depth, and natural screen presence quickly made her a favorite in silent films. And by the time she was just 10 years old, she was already being cast in adult roles. Under constant pressure from studios and her own mother, who reportedly pushed her relentlessly, Lucille worked long hours, often on back-to-back projects with no time to rest or recover. Between 1924 and 1925, she appeared in over a dozen films, including The Galloping Fish and The Denial. Hollywood hailed her as the next big star, and major directors and producers competed to cast her. But behind the camera, Lucille was struggling. The intense workload and emotional demands of her roles began to take a toll on her frail young body. In 1925, while filming her final projects, Lucille contracted tuberculosis, a disease made worse by exhaustion, malnutrition, and the harsh working conditions she endured. Just a few weeks after turning 14, Lucille passed away on March 13, 1925, in Los Angeles. Her mother died shortly afterward, reportedly from grief. Lucille Ricksen's death became a haunting symbol of Hollywood's dark side, a tragic reminder of how the pursuit of fame can destroy even the brightest young lives. Today, she is remembered not just for her talent, but for the heartbreaking cost of early stardom. News 2. Bobby Driscoll, 1937-1968. Bobby Driscoll was once the shining face of Disney, a child star with talent, charm, and a future as bright as the studio lights around him. But behind the fame was a much darker story, one of rejection, addiction, and a heartbreaking end far from the magic of Neverland. Born on March 3, 1937 in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Bobby was discovered in Los Angeles at just 5 years old. He quickly became one of the most beloved child actors of the 1940s, starring in classics like Song of the South, 1946, So Dear to My Heart, 1948, and Treasure Island, 1950. In 1953, he provided the voice and live-action reference for Peter Pan, becoming the first male actor to voice the iconic role. At the height of his fame, Bobby received a Juvenile Academy Award, Hollywood's highest honor for a child star. But when puberty hit, Disney dropped him. His appearance changed, his voice deepened, and the roles stopped coming. By his late teens, Bobby was struggling with heroin addiction and was arrested multiple times. He tried to restart his life through art, and even briefly found a place in Andy Warhol's scene in New York. But the damage had been done. In March 1968, Bobby Driscoll was found dead in an abandoned Manhattan building. He had died from heart failure, alone and unknown. Without identification, he was buried in a pauper's grave. His identity wasn't discovered until over a year later, when a fingerprint match confirmed who he was. Bobby Driscoll's tragic story is a haunting reminder of how quickly Hollywood can forget its stars, especially the ones who grow up too fast under its unforgiving spotlight. News 3. Jay North, 1951-2025. Jay North will always be remembered as the mischievous, freckle-faced troublemaker Dennis Mitchell in the classic TV series Dennis the Menace, 1959 to 1963. But behind the charm and sitcom laughter was a boy who carried the heavy burden of child stardom, a weight that followed him long after the camera stopped rolling. Born on August 3, 1951, in Hollywood, California, Jay was surrounded by the entertainment world from an early age. At just 6 years old, he began acting in radio and TV. His big break came at age 8 when he was cast as Dennis, a role that made him a household name. For 4 seasons, Jay delighted audiences with his energetic personality and perfectly timed mischief. But behind the scenes, Jay's life was far from lighthearted. Off camera, he faced intense pressure, long working hours, and reportedly strict discipline from his guardians. As the show ended and Jay entered adolescence, he found himself typecast and unable to escape the image of Dennis the Menace. Acting jobs dried up, and Jay struggled to adjust to a world that no longer saw him as the lovable boy next door. In his adult years, Jay distanced himself from Hollywood, serving in the Navy and later working in correctional facilities. Over time, he opened up about the emotional toll of childhood fame, becoming an advocate for child actors and a cautionary voice about the dark side of the entertainment industry. Jay North passed away on April 6, 2025 at the age of 73. Though his death wasn't tragic, his life reflects the quiet struggles of growing up in the public eye. He leaves behind a legacy not only as television's most iconic troublemaker, but as a survivor of a system that rarely protects its youngest stars. News 4. Sawyer Sweeten, 1995-2015. Sawyer Sweeten grew up on television in front of millions of viewers, but behind the laughter of a hit sitcom was a young man silently battling pain that few ever saw. Best known for playing Jeffrey Barone, one of the adorable twins on Everybody Loves Raymond, Sawyer's life ended far too soon in one of the most tragic losses to hit Hollywood. Born on May 12, 1995 in Brownwood, Texas, Sawyer and his twin brother Sullivan began acting at just 16 months old. The two were cast as the Barone twins on the beloved CBS series Everybody Loves Raymond, alongside their older sister Madeline. For nearly a decade, the Sweeten children grew up in front of the cameras, charming audiences, and becoming part of television history. When the show ended in 2005, the fame faded, and with it, the structure and support that had once surrounded Sawyer. While he stayed out of the spotlight and lived a quiet life in Texas, those close to him later said he struggled with depression. On April 23, 2015, just weeks before his 20th birthday, Sawyer Sweeten tragically died by suicide at his family's home in Austin. The news shocked fans and devastated his family, co-stars, and friends. His death became a heartbreaking reminder of how mental health challenges can affect even those who seem to have it all. In the wake of his passing, his sister Madeline and other cast members urged greater awareness and compassion for those suffering in silence. Sawyer Sweeten's death was a profound loss, not just to the world of entertainment, but to everyone who remembers him as the sweet, smiling boy on one of TV's most cherished shows. He is remembered with love, and with the hope that his story helps others speak up and seek help. News 5. Heather O'Rourke, 1975-1988. Heather O'Rourke was the angelic face of 1980s horror, the young girl whose haunting line, "They're here," became iconic in Poltergeist, 1982. But behind her breakout stardom was a brief life marked by unexpected tragedy, leaving behind a legacy forever etched in cinematic history. Born on December 27, 1975 in San Diego, California, Heather was discovered by director Steven Spielberg while having lunch at the MGM commissary with her mother and sister. Charmed by her innocent look and quiet confidence, Spielberg immediately cast her as Carol Ann Freeling, the youngest child in the now legendary Poltergeist trilogy. Heather's performance captivated audiences. Her wide-eyed innocence and calm presence amid supernatural chaos became a defining element of the films. She reprised her role in both Poltergeist 2, 1986, and Poltergeist 3, 1988, quickly becoming one of the most recognizable child stars of the decade. But during the filming of Poltergeist 3, Heather began experiencing flu-like symptoms and abdominal pain. Doctors initially misdiagnosed her with Crohn's disease, and her condition worsened over time. On February 1, 1988, Heather collapsed at home and was rushed to the hospital. She suffered cardiac arrest during emergency surgery to correct a bowel obstruction and later died of septic shock. She was only 12 years old. Her sudden and tragic death shocked the world, especially fans who had grown up with her on screen. The loss of such a bright young talent sparked speculation, including rumors of a so-called poltergeist curse. But beyond the headlines, Heather's story is one of a gifted child taken far too soon. Heather O'Rourke is remembered not just for her iconic role, but for the warmth, wonder, and light she brought to audiences in her short time on Earth. News 6. Judith Barsi, 1978-1988. Judith Barsi was a rising star whose voice and smile brought life to some of the most beloved characters of the 1980s. But behind her growing success was a dark, hidden nightmare, one that ended in unspeakable tragedy. Born on June 6, 1978 in Los Angeles, California, to Hungarian immigrant parents, Judith began acting in commercials by the age of 5. Her talent and charm quickly landed her roles in TV shows, movies, and animated classics. She voiced Ducky in The Land Before Time, 1988, and Anne Marie in All Dogs Go to Heaven, released posthumously in 1989. Her sweet, high-pitched yep, yep, yep as Ducky became iconic, a symbol of childhood joy. But at home, Judith lived in constant fear. Her father, Josef Barsi, was abusive and controlling, both emotionally and physically. Despite her mother Maria's attempts to protect her and multiple warnings to authorities, their cries for help were not fully heard. On July 25, 1988, at just 10 years old, Judith was murdered by her father in their San Fernando Valley home. He then killed her mother before taking his own life. The tragedy sent shockwaves through Hollywood and the world. How could such a bright, innocent child meet such a horrific end? Judith Barsi's story is one of devastating loss, but also of incredible talent and light extinguished far too soon. Her performances continue to live on in the hearts of fans, who remember her not only for her voice, but for the joy she brought to the screen. Her death also helped raise awareness about domestic abuse and child protection failures. Judith's legacy, while marked by tragedy, serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of listening, acting, and protecting the most vulnerable among us. News 7. Mya-Lecia Naylor, 1999-2019. Mya-Lecia Naylor was a rising star in British television, a bright and talented young actress, singer, and model whose future seemed full of promise. Known for her roles in CBBC hits like Millie in Between and Almost Never, she captured the hearts of young audiences across the UK with her energy, charisma, and effortless talent. But her life was tragically cut short at just 16, in circumstances that left many heartbroken and searching for answers. Born on November 6, 1999, in Warwickshire, England, Mya began acting as a child. She had a small role in Absolutely Fabulous in 2004, but her breakthrough came a decade later, when she starred as Fran in the CBBC series Millie in Between. She quickly became a familiar face on children's television, admired for her comedic timing and natural screen presence. In 2019, she began appearing in Almost Never, a CBBC musical comedy series where she showcased her singing talent. Off-screen, she was also a member of the girl group Angels and Bandits, and fans loved her vibrant personality and positivity on social media. On April 7, 2019, Mya was found unresponsive in her home in South Norwood, London. She was rushed to the hospital but pronounced dead later that day. A coroner later ruled her death was the result of misadventure, an accidental hanging, not intended to cause her death. It was reported she had been feeling overwhelmed, but no evidence suggested she meant to end her life. The news sent shockwaves through fans and the entertainment community. Tributes poured in from co-stars, friends, and CBBC, all remembering her as deeply talented, kind, and funny beyond her years. Mya-Lecia Naylor left behind a legacy of laughter, light, and youthful brilliance, and a powerful reminder of how fragile life can be, even for the brightest stars. News 8. Scotty Beckett, 1929-1968. Scotty Beckett was once one of the brightest young faces in Hollywood, a charming, dimpled child star best known for his role in Our Gang, also known as the Little Rascals. But like so many who rise too fast too young, Scotty's life spiraled into addiction, legal troubles, and heartbreak. By the time he died at just 38, his story had become one of early fame lost to the shadows of personal demons. Born on October 4, 1929 in Oakland, California, Scotty began acting at the age of 3. His big break came when he joined Our Gang in 1934, stealing scenes as the adorable sidekick to Spanky and Alfalfa. He quickly became one of the most popular child actors of the 1930s, with roles in major films like Dante's Inferno, My Favorite Wife, and The Jolson Story, where he played the young Al Jolson. As he grew older, Scotty struggled to transition from child star to adult actor, a common fate among early Hollywood's young talents. His personal life became increasingly troubled, marked by battles with substance abuse, multiple arrests, and failed marriages. He was in and out of jail for various charges, from drug possession to grand theft, and often found himself in the tabloids for all the wrong reasons. On May 10, 1968, Scotty Beckett was found dead in a Los Angeles motel room. Reports indicated he had overdosed on barbiturates, though the exact cause of death remains disputed. He was just 38 years old. Scotty Beckett's story is a sobering reminder of how fleeting fame can be, and how the pressures of childhood stardom can follow a person long after the applause fades. He remains a bittersweet symbol of talent lost too soon. News 9. Matthew Garber, 1956-1977. Matthew Garber brought wonder, charm, and youthful spirit to one of Disney's most beloved classics. As Michael Banks in Mary Poppins, 1964, he captured the hearts of audiences around the world, a curious, mischievous child who believed in magic. But behind the scenes, Matthew's time in the spotlight was brief, and his life tragically cut short just as adulthood began. Born on March 25, 1956 in Stepney, London, England, Matthew began acting at the age of 7. He made his film debut in The 3 Lives of Thomasina, 1963, where he starred alongside Karen Dautrice, who would later play his sister Jane in Mary Poppins. The two became an iconic sibling duo, bringing emotional depth and childlike joy to the 1964 Disney masterpiece. Matthew's expressive eyes, mischievous grin, and natural charm made him instantly unforgettable. After appearing in just 3 films, all before the age of 10, Matthew stepped away from acting and returned to a more private life. He attended school and later traveled extensively, embracing life outside the entertainment world. In 1976, while traveling in India, Matthew contracted hepatitis. The illness rapidly progressed into hemorrhagic pancreatitis, a rare and severe complication. Despite being flown back to the UK for treatment, his condition worsened. On June 13, 1977, Matthew Garber died at just 21 years old. His death stunned fans and devastated those who had worked with him. Karen Dautrice later described him as cheeky, very intelligent, and a lot of fun. Though his film career was short, Matthew Garber left an indelible mark on generations of viewers. His role in Mary Poppins remains timeless, a glimpse of childhood innocence frozen in film and remembered with love. News 10. Billy Laughlin, 1932-1948. Billy Laughlin, best known as the unforgettable Froggy from the Our Gang comedy shorts, left a lasting impression with his raspy, frog-like voice and quirky comedic timing. But behind the laughs was a life that ended far too soon. A bright young talent lost in a sudden and tragic accident at just 16 years old. Born William Robert Laughlin on July 5, 1932, in San Gabriel, California, Billy joined Our Gang, also known as the Little Rascals, in 1940. He was only 8 years old when he debuted, but his signature croaky voice, reportedly inspired by a Popeye impression, made him instantly stand out. As Froggy, he was the oddball of the group, bug-eyed, deadpan, and hilarious. His unique voice and timing added a fresh layer to the beloved series, and he quickly became a fan favorite. Billy appeared in over 25 Our Gang shorts between 1940 and 1944. When the series ended, he stepped away from acting, returning to a more typical childhood, one far from the spotlight. Tragically, Billy's life was cut short just a few years later. On August 31, 1948, he was riding a motor scooter, a gift from his parents, with a friend in La Puente, California. A speeding truck struck the boys as they turned into a driveway. Billy was killed instantly. He was only 16. News of his death shocked fans and saddened those who had grown up watching him on screen. Though his time in Hollywood was brief, Billy Laughlin remains an unforgettable part of our gang history, a reminder of how childhood fame can shine brightly, even if only for a moment. His raspy voice and comedic charm still echo in the hearts of classic film lovers everywhere. News 11. Anissa Jones, 1958-1976. Anissa Jones was the picture of sweetness and innocence as Buffy on the classic 1960s sitcom Family Affair. With her signature pigtails and beloved Mrs. Beasley doll, she became one of television's most adored child stars. But behind the fame was a young girl struggling with the pressures of sudden stardom and a life that ended far too soon. Born Mary Anissa Jones on March 11, 1958 in Lafayette, Indiana, she began acting at just 6 years old. Her breakout came at age 8, when she was cast as Buffy Davis on Family Affair, 1966-1971, opposite Brian Keith. Anissa quickly became a household name, charming audiences with her wide-eyed innocence and on-screen warmth. But after Family Affair ended, Anissa faced the harsh reality so many child actors endure. The world stopped calling, typecast, and unable to transition into more mature roles. She withdrew from acting and began struggling with her identity and direction in life. Compounding her difficulties was a troubled home life, including her parents' divorce and legal battles over her trust fund. By her teenage years, Anissa had fallen into a circle where drug use was prevalent. On August 28, 1976, at just 18 years old, she was found dead at a friend's house in Oceanside, California. The coroner's report revealed she died of a massive drug overdose, a lethal combination of cocaine, PCP, Seconal, and Quaaludes. Anissa Jones's death stunned fans and served as a tragic reminder of the vulnerability of child stars after the spotlight fades. Once the nation's sweetheart, she became another cautionary tale of Hollywood's dark side. Though her time was brief, Anissa's legacy as Buffy remains etched in television history, a symbol of innocence lost, both on and off the screen. News 12. Skye McCole Bartusiak, 1992-2014. Skye McCole Bartusiak was a gifted young actress who made a powerful impression on audiences with her emotional depth and screen presence. Best known for her heartbreaking role as Mel Gibson's daughter in The Patriot, 2000, she showed a maturity far beyond her years. But behind the talent and rising career was a life quietly affected by medical struggles, and tragically cut short at just 21 years old. Born on September 28, 1992 in Houston, Texas, Skye began acting as a child. She quickly made a name for herself with standout performances in The Cider House Rules, 1999, Don't Say a Word, 2001, opposite Michael Douglas, and of course The Patriot, where her tearful goodbye scene with Mel Gibson remains unforgettable to this day. Known for her ability to portray vulnerability and strength at once, Skye earned praise not just in film, but also on television, with roles in 24, Lost, House, and Law & Order, SVU. She also began directing and had ambitions to expand her career behind the camera. But while her career appeared promising, Skye privately battled epileptic seizures. On July 19, 2014, she was found unresponsive in her Texas home. Despite attempts to revive her, she was pronounced dead later that day. A medical examiner later ruled her death accidental, the result of a lethal combination of painkillers and medication used to control her epilepsy. Her death shocked fans and devastated her family, who described her as a brave and beautiful girl with a huge heart. Skye McCole Bartusiak's story is one of extraordinary talent and unfulfilled potential. Though her time was brief, her performances left a lasting emotional impact, reminding us that some stars shine brightly, even if only for a moment. News 13. Tara Correa-McMullen, 1993-2005. Tara Correa-McMullen was a rising young actress whose on-screen presence was as powerful as it was promising. Best known for her recurring role as a troubled teen on the legal drama Judging Amy, she showed a raw emotional depth well beyond her years. But heartbreakingly, her real life mirrored the violence she once portrayed on screen, and her life was cut tragically short in a senseless act of violence. Born Shalva McMullen on May 24, 1989, commonly reported as 1993, in Westminster, Vermont, Tara moved to Los Angeles with her mother, a casting director, Her foray into acting came unexpectedly when she was cast in the 2005 film Rebound, alongside Martin Lawrence. That same year, she landed a recurring role on Judging Amy, playing Graciela Reyes, a teenager entangled in a gang lifestyle. Her performance was haunting, layered, and eerily close to what her own life would soon reflect. Off-screen, Tara was living independently by 16 and had begun associating with known gang members in Inglewood, California. On October 21, 2005, she was gunned down outside an apartment complex in what police described as a gang-related shooting. She was just 16 years old. The tragedy sent shockwaves through both the entertainment industry and her community. Tara had been a girl with incredible potential, someone whose talent had only just begun to blossom. Her death served as a devastating reminder of how quickly young lives can be lost to cycles of violence. Tara Correa-McMullen is remembered not only for her brief but impactful performances, but also as a life filled with both promise and vulnerability. Though she portrayed tough characters, her real story is one of innocence lost too soon, and talent that the world will never get to fully witness. News 14. Sammi Kane Kraft, 1992-2012. Sammi Kane Kraft was more than just a young actress. She was a gifted athlete, a musician, and a vibrant soul whose potential was as limitless as her energy. Best known for playing Amanda Wurlitzer in the 2005 remake of Bad News Bears, Sammi brought authenticity and grit to the role because in real life, she wasn't just acting, she really was that good. Born on April 2, 1992, in Livingston, New Jersey, and raised in Los Angeles, Sammi stood out early for her athleticism. A standout Little League pitcher, she threw fastballs at speeds that rivaled boys twice her size. Her natural charisma and talent on the field led to her being cast in Bad News Bears at just 13, opposite Billy Bob Thornton. Her performance was tough, funny, and filled with attitude, winning over audiences who believed every pitch she threw. But Sammi didn't stop with acting. She pursued music as a singer-songwriter and played in an indie folk band. She was a creative force, passionate and full of dreams. Tragically, on October 9, 2012, at the age of 20, Sammi died in a car accident on the I-10 freeway in Los Angeles. She was a passenger when the car was struck and pushed into oncoming traffic. Her death sent shockwaves through her fan base, friends, and family. A life full of promise ended in an instant. Though her time in the public eye was brief, Sammi Kane Kraft left a mark as more than just a child star. She was a true original, fearless, athletic, and endlessly talented. Her legacy lives on in the film that captured her spark, and in the memories of those who knew her as a girl who could do it all, and very nearly did. News 15. Brad Renfro, 1982-2008. Brad Renfro was once hailed as one of Hollywood's brightest young stars, a raw, natural talent who stunned audiences with his performance in The Client, 1994, at just 11 years old. But behind the early success was a young man struggling with inner demons, battling addiction, and ultimately losing his life before reaching his full potential. Born on July 25, 1982 in Knoxville, Tennessee, Brad had no formal acting training when he was cast as Mark Sway in the legal thriller The Client, opposite Susan Sarandon and Tommy Lee Jones. His performance was widely praised, intense, honest, and mature beyond his years. Overnight, Brad Renfro became a household name. Throughout the late 90s and early 2000s, he appeared in several major films, including Sleepers, 1996, Apt Pupil, 1998, The Cure, 1995, and Ghost World, 2001. But as his acting career grew, so did his personal struggles. Fame had come quickly, and without the support or stability he needed to navigate it. By his teenage years, Brad had begun experimenting with drugs and alcohol. His legal troubles, including multiple arrests for drug possession and theft, became increasingly public. Despite attempts at rehabilitation and a few career comebacks, the cycle of addiction proved hard to break. On January 15, 2008, Brad Renfro was found dead in his Los Angeles apartment. The cause was ruled an accidental heroin overdose. He was just 25 years old. Brad's death stunned fans and served as yet another painful reminder of how fame at a young age can come at a devastating cost. Though his life was brief, his performances left a lasting impression. especially for those who saw in him not just a gifted actor, but a young man crying out for help. His talent endures. His story, sadly, is a cautionary tale. News 16. River Phoenix, 1970-1993. River Phoenix was a rare kind of actor, one who didn't just perform, but seemed to live every role with soul-deep intensity. With striking talent, quiet charisma, and a gentle heart, he became a voice for a generation. But behind the sensitivity and brilliance was a young man quietly unraveling, and his tragic death at just 23 remains one of Hollywood's most haunting losses. Born on August 23, 1970 in Madras, Oregon, River grew up in a nomadic, unconventional family. He began acting young to support his siblings, including future actor Joaquin Phoenix, and quickly gained attention for his authenticity and screen presence. His breakout role in Stand By Me, 1986, showcased a rare emotional vulnerability that set him apart from other child stars. As he transitioned into adult roles, River became known for choosing powerful, often edgy characters. In Running on Empty, 1988, he earned an Oscar nomination at age 18. In My Own Private Idaho, 1991, his performance as a vulnerable, drifting street kid became legendary, capturing the loneliness, yearning, and beauty of youth on the margins. Off-screen, River was soft-spoken, idealistic, and deeply committed to causes like animal rights and environmentalism. But despite his clean image, he struggled privately with substance abuse. On October 31, 1993, River collapsed outside the Viper Room, a Hollywood nightclub partly owned by Johnny Depp. He had suffered a fatal drug overdose, a lethal combination of heroin and cocaine. He died on the sidewalk, in the arms of his brother Joaquin, at just 23 years old. River Phoenix's light burned brightly and briefly. His loss was not just the death of a gifted actor, but the silencing of a voice that spoke to truth, beauty, and vulnerability in a way few ever could. He is forever remembered, a star who never faded, only fell too soon. News 17. Corey Haim, 1971-2010. Corey Haim was the poster boy of 1980s teen stardom. Charming, bright-eyed, and effortlessly cool. With hits like Lucas, The Lost Boys, and License to Drive, he became a household name and heartthrob, adored by millions. But behind the fame and fun, Corey battled a long, painful struggle with addiction, never fully escaping the shadows of early stardom. Born on December 23, 1971, in Toronto, Canada, Haim was a shy child who initially pursued figure skating before his mother introduced him to acting. He got his break in Firstborn 1984, acting opposite Sarah Jessica Parker and Robert Downey Jr. But it was Lucas, 1986, that revealed the depth of his talent. A sensitive, powerful performance that showed he was more than just another cute face. He soared to icon status with The Lost Boys 1987, co-starring with Corey Feldman in a partnership that would become known as The Two Coreys. The duo starred in multiple teen hits and became cultural fixtures. But behind the fame, Haim struggled with insecurity, pressure, and eventually, addiction. By the early 90s, his career had begun to fade. Multiple stints in rehab, public breakdowns, and financial troubles followed. Though he continued to work in small roles and independent films, he was often more remembered for his decline than his talent. On March 10, 2010, Corey Haim died in Burbank, California, from pneumonia complicated by an enlarged heart and a history of drug abuse. He was 38 years old. His death was a sobering reminder of the high cost of child stardom and the often lonely battle of addiction. Yet fans continue to remember him not for his struggles, but for his charisma, kindness, and the unforgettable spark he brought to the screen. Corey Haim's light may have dimmed, but it never truly went out. News 18. Gary Coleman, 1968-2010. Gary Coleman was one of the most recognizable faces on television in the late 1970s and early 80s. With his infectious smile, quick wit, and iconic catchphrase, "What you talking about, Willis?" He became a beloved star of Diff'rent Strokes. But behind the laughter and fame was a life marked by medical struggles, financial battles, and deep personal hardship. Born on February 8, 1968, in Zion, Illinois, Gary was diagnosed early in life with a congenital kidney condition called nephritis. The illness and its treatment stunted his growth, leaving him at 4 feet 8 inches tall throughout his adult life. He underwent more than a dozen surgeries and daily dialysis as a child. Despite these challenges, Gary's charisma shone through. He was cast as Arnold Jackson in Diff'rent Strokes in 1978 at just 10 years old. His comedic timing and lovable personality quickly made him the breakout star of the show, earning him widespread fame and several awards. But after the series ended, Gary's life took a difficult turn. He struggled to find roles, was mismanaged financially, and famously sued his adoptive parents and former business advisor for misappropriating his trust fund. A battle he won, but one that left scars. He later worked a variety of jobs to make ends meet, including as a security guard. On May 28, 2010, Gary Coleman died after suffering a brain hemorrhage following a fall at his home in Utah. He was 42 years old. Gary's life was filled with both brilliance and pain, a young star who lit up millions of homes but rarely found peace in his own. Though his later years were marked by struggle, his legacy as one of TV's most iconic child actors remains unforgettable. He made us laugh and left us too soon. News 19. Dana Plato, Mya-Lecia Naylor. Dana Plato was a household name in the 1980s, beloved for her role as Kimberly Drummond on the hit sitcom Diff'rent Strokes. With her girl-next-door charm and warm screen presence, she became a role model for young viewers. But behind the bright lights of fame was a life marred by tragedy, addiction, and a search for stability that ultimately ended in heartbreak. Born Dana Michelle Strain on November 7, 1964, in Maywood, California, she was adopted as a baby and began appearing in TV commercials by age 7. Her big break came at 14, when she was cast alongside Gary Coleman and Todd Bridges in Diff'rent Strokes, one of the most popular shows of its time. While she played the wholesome daughter on screen, her personal life quickly took a darker turn. At 18, she became a mother, and soon after, was written out of the show. Struggling to find acting work and support herself, Dana battled addiction to drugs and alcohol for much of her adult life. Her descent was widely publicized, including arrests for armed robbery and prescription fraud. She also posed for Playboy in a bid to revive her career, and later appeared in low-budget films and reality interviews that reflected her ongoing pain. On May 8, 1999, just one day after giving a radio interview where she insisted she was clean and hopeful for the future, Dana Plato died of an overdose of prescription pills at her fiancé's home in Oklahoma. Her death was ruled a suicide. She was only 34 years old. Dana Plato's life is a tragic example of how early fame can mask deep emotional wounds. Though her struggles were many, fans remember her for the joy she once brought into their homes, and the smile that hinted at a happier story that might have been. News 20. Sophie Nyweide, minutes 188 to 2025. Sophie Nyweide was a young actress whose performances hinted at a deep emotional intelligence and quiet strength, well beyond her years. Known for roles in Mammoth and An Invisible Sign, she brought subtlety and sincerity to the screen, the kind of presence that didn't shout but gently pulled you in. Her life, filled with artistic promise, ended in a tragic and mysterious turn that still leaves more questions than answers. Born on July 8, 1988 in New York City, Sophie entered the acting world as a child. Her first major screen role came in Mammoth, 2009, a critically noted drama directed by Lucas Moodysson. Starring alongside Gael Garcia Bernal and Michelle Williams, Sophie played a daughter caught in the emotional crosscurrents of modern family life. Her performance was tender and haunting, praised for its naturalism and maturity. She followed with a supporting role in An Invisible Sign, 2010, acting opposite Jessica Alba. Again, Sophie stood out, not for theatrics, but for her quiet ability to make even small moments feel human and real. For a time, she seemed poised to join the ranks of young actors growing into thoughtful adult careers. But Sophie gradually stepped away from the spotlight. In the years that followed, she lived a more private life, mostly absent from public appearances or social media. That's why news of her sudden death in May 2025 came as such a shock. Sophie was found near a riverside in Vermont at just 24 years old. As of now, the circumstances remain under investigation. No official cause has been released, and her family has requested privacy. Sophie Nyweide's legacy is one of quiet artistry and youthful depth. Though her life was short, she left behind characters and a sense of mystery that will linger long after the credits fade. Thanks for watching Who Immortal today. If these stories touched your heart, please like this video. Leave a comment below sharing which star's story moved you the most. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Feel free to share this video with friends who love Hollywood history and unforgettable stories. We'll be back soon with more jaw-dropping transformations and untold tales of fame, fortune, and heartbreak. Until next time, take care and remember, behind every star is a story worth telling.